Hey everybody, it's RPGaDay, day 18, August 18th. I'm going to do the 18th and 19th prompts today, another twofer because I've got a regular episode to drop for you tomorrow, a call-in roundup. So, and today's topics are somewhat similar and related, so that I think they'll go well together. So, prompt number 18 is a memorable moment of play. I'm trying to think of the most memorable moment of play I've had in the last year. And then a sensational session. So I'm gonna put these two together. And this was I talked last time. I kind of updated what's going on in the Traveler game I play in that's run by Carl Rodriguez. I talked about kind of being a little uncomfortable because we had a kind of a pivotal moment. It's kind of big conclusion where it's kind of supposed to involve all the players, and we were all involved, all three of us. But I felt like it focused on my character a little more. What had happened is we're supposed to be knighted in the Third Imperium for other acts of service that we've done thus far, and we get on board a luxury liner as guests to go to the planet where we're going to be knighted, and of course we're when you make these jumps in Traveler, there are weeks that pass. And so we're here for a while, and a murder occurs, and it becomes almost like a Hercule Poirot kind of situation where we've got so many days to solve the murder before we come out of jump space, and then they want it. The captain of the ship wants it solved, so they ask us to solve it, and we wind up fingering this retired, highly decorated, retired military officer, this general, who takes an instant disliking to us. He's pompous. He's full of himself. The evidence points to him, but it also kind of suggests that maybe he's a patsy, that there's been some sort of psychic manipulation that's gone on among, the first suspect turns out to not have done it, and they lead us to another suspect who turns out not to have done it, and they've all had some sort of psionic tampering with their memory. But it all leads back to him, and he seems to be the one who's sort of framed as the mastermind, or it maybe is, but he won't cooperate. He won't answer any questions. He won't say, I've been set up. He just says, I'll never get a fair trial, and he gets all huffy. So we're at the session where we're being knighted. He's sort of been arrested, but then he shows up at the ceremony with this I believe I can't remember if it's a duchess that's knighting us, which is kind of awkward, but we're able to avoid him. But then a young military officer who very much likes him comes up and challenges me to a duel, because what happened when we arrested him was he was telling us to get out of his stateroom so we couldn't search it. So I basically insulted him until he lost his temper and pulled a gun on me, and then I disarmed him and took him down. Of course, I disarmed him and was taking him down. The other players jumped in and helped. It wasn't just me doing it, but I'm the one who's kind of known as the person who assaulted this guy. So this young challenged me to a duel. So whatever, dude, we'll have a duel. I guess this is actually occurring over two sessions. So we have our knighting ceremony, and then the next session this is the one I'm thinking about since the whole session. We go to the after party, and these people show up. And it turns out it's one of the NPCs we generated in my backstory. You have this life path generation when you create a Traveler character, and you get to fill in, enemies and allies and people you've met that could be contacts. And it's a Vargr, which in the Traveler world are these humanoid canines, who actually, I think the history is that they were actual, dogs or maybe wolves from Earth that these ancients took and evolved into sentient humanoid creatures, and then when humans get out there, they encounter them again. They're like, wow, what's this? That's kind of the explanation. Anyway, it turns out that this particular Vargr is mad that I sort of went on to. They thought they were going to accompany back. I'd gotten lost in space, and they were part of my journey back to get back in. I'm a scout. My character Roddy is a scout. So I think the idea was this Vargr thought that I was going to take them with me for the rest, and my understanding was we were parting ways, and so they felt bad. And then now I got a little bit of fame and fortune going on. So shows up with some hired thugs to pick a fight. So just just on the heels of being challenged to a duel, we get in this sort of brawl at a party. After I've just been knighted, all three of us have just been knighted, and it's pretty funny. I mean, nobody was ever in any serious danger. But another one of the reason I felt like this session unduly focuses on me is another one of the characters as part of my backstory is another scout who's been helping us on this last mission. Who's she's kind of a best friend, kind of brother sister kind of relationship with my my character, but is also accompanying me to this ceremony. So we get in a fight, and I think the reason this session is memorable because I try to make this character. Can you imagine me playing a character who's a smartass? Go figure, right? So I pop off kind of frequently, after in moments of silence in character. Anyway, we get this big brawl. Somebody pays off most of the thugs. One of the other players' characters pays them off to just leave. One of them refuses to leave, and so I get in a fist fight, knock him out. Meanwhile, my Michaela, the scout, who's kind of my partner here, is wrestling with this humanoid dog, who's upset, and they're fighting each other, and they get all scruffled up. And so we finally all settle down. Hey, let's just go get a drink and settle this down. We're sitting there. We've made a friend of the local kind of law enforcement who's also with us, who's kind of, or is she going to arrest us? Is she going to protect us? Anyway, it's just kind of embarrassing. It's kind of funny. So it all settles down. Let's go get a drink. And I look over at Michaela, the other scout, and I go, this has got to be the best date you've ever been on, right? And of course, Carl just has her huff and walk off. And I'm like, wait, at least the top three, right? Anyway, so we get through that. We get through probably the most memorable part of this, and is then we shift to the duel where one of the other players' characters serves as my second. One of the other ones is also a physician, so he comes as the physician. This military officer brings his second and his attending physician, and we said we're gonna go to first blood, and through the rules of travel, what we decided is when you start to take damage in travel, you take it off your endurance score, and then when that is 0, you start taking it off all of your physical scores. And once your physical scores are all gone, you're incapacitated, right? So whoever's endurance hits 0 first is how we're going to model this in game terms. And I think I took maybe 1 point of damage, but in I think 3 passes, just completely decimated. I was rolling good, and of course we have some meta currency to spend, so I just pumped all the meta currency into it. Took this guy out pretty handily, and then of course shook his hand and said, hey, I respect that you're standing up for someone you greatly admire, and this is a man who's done great things. I understand his reputation, and if I'll be the first one to recant my accusation if there's any evidence that he's been set up or he didn't do it. If you know of anything, let us know, because we're not 100% convinced that he's the murderer. But we've got to get on to our next stuff. And so the guy shakes my hand and says, well, I guess all scouts aren't scoundrels. And I've said something like, well, yeah, we really are, but we're not all bad guys. So that's we in that, and we're trying to now leave and go to this next phase of our careers where we've sort of agreed to sort of serve with this pharmaceutical, biotech corporation to kind of crew a vessel for them. That's the next thing. And so we've got sort of this person who hired us on board the ship. We're trying to get out and just jump and go on to the next thing. And here's the King Richard, this luxury liner that we had came in on, and we're running out of time. So Carl was clearly setting us up for a cliffhanger for the next session, which we haven't played yet. And we get sort of distress call. There appears to be explosions going on the ship and some kind of mutiny and some kind of chaos. And so they're asking all ships in the vicinity to render aid. And I'm like, we're kind of discussing what are we going to do. And it's like, our employer says, well, we got to go help. So we're talking about, we're going to board. What do we, it looks like we're going to have to board the ship again armed and try to help rescue people and settle things down. Knowing that there may be sort of psionic things at work if it turns out to be the same people that were actual behind the murder. But, as we're about to, we decide what we're going to do, kind of look at the ship, set course to intercept with the ship so we can and prepare to board. And, I kind of got the last word of going, Roddy's sitting at the controls. He's the pilot, looks, and he just looks at the King Richard and is like, God, I hate that fucking ship. That's where we ended the session. So that was just real memorable. I felt like I got to really inhabit my character in a way I don't often get to. It was a little awkward too, in retrospect, feeling like that was sort of being the focus of the session when it was supposed to be sort of a thing about all three of us getting knighted and moving on to the next thing. But everybody seemed to have a good time and had a good laugh on that. So that was a memorable 1.5 session, or 2 sessions really, memorable couple of sessions, and then a very very memorable moment with the duel, and then also I guess another memorable. I get to end on a cheesy one liner before we, you know, fade to black and to be continued, right? So anyway, that is it for day 18 and 19. Tomorrow I've got a regular length episode with a bunch of calls that have come in, some about RPGaDay, some about my last couple of regular episodes. So we'll get that tomorrow, and then we'll get back to RPGaDay after that. So wherever you are out there today, where you're listening from, take care of yourself and try to make someone happy today.